Make sense? Okay, so this is kind of what's happened after 12 months have elapsed, and then I kind of want to continue this pattern, see how it builds on a simple compound interest idea into something much bigger. So let's have a look at A2. This is in 2002, just to keep the numbers easy for us. Okay, two things are going to happen in the space of the next 12 months. Okay, the first thing that happens is we're going to take this amount, right, A1. And then we have a new installment, right? So $10,000 goes in. Is that okay? Just like we did in the first instance. But then a second thing happens. What gets applied to that?
What did we mention last year?
Yeah, that interest that gets added on, just like we had here, it happens again because 12 more months have passed. So I don't need to kind of go through this long process. I think you can see if I just multiply by 1.08, another time, so that has that same effect.
It was 800, so 800 plus 10,000 times 1.0.
Yeah, so let's actually unpack what the numbers all are, right? So A1, of course, is this amount here. So I'm going to substitute that in. It's going to be 10,000 times 1.88. That's A1, right? And then you got another 10,000. Say that again.
Maturing in value.
Insuring in value?
Maturing.
Maturing in value. Yeah, absolutely. It just keeps getting better and better. Yes, Sophie?
I'm confused where the square has gone.
What square?
So like in A1, we simplified it down to the 10,000 bracket 1.08 because it was a power of 1. Then you're saying, is there a power? Is it being squared?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You're kind of one step ahead of me. So I've got here A1 plus 10,000, then I put this interest on, right? And even though usually we like things factorized because it's nice and neat, I'm actually going to expand it to try and clarify what Sophie's talking about. See this 1.08 and this 1.08, index laws, that's really the 10,000 times 1.08 squared. Agree with that? So this is where that power of 2 comes in, okay? And then I've got my other 10,000. How much interest has been applied to that? Think carefully. That's 2 years of interest right there, right?
$800.
This is the new installment. It will be $800 because it's only 1 year's worth of interest. Okay. Now, a way you can think about this conceptually is this.
10,000 times 1.08 20 because isn't that just the easiest way to do it?
Okay. We're coming to that. So this is the first installment, right? And it's been in there for 2 years. Yes. So that's why it's got 2 lots of interest on top of it. This is the second installment. I don't know why I wrote that with a number instead. It hasn't been in there as long. It's only been there for 1 year, okay? Now, if I wanted, I could fast forward all the way to the end. You can see I'm going to go to the 20th year eventually, right? And then say, well, that first installment, how long has it been in there? By 2020? And the answer is it will be 20 years, right? However, it's crucially important because I'm trying to establish a pattern here, right? That I don't just go straight to the end and say, I know what the answer will be, okay? So you're starting to see where this is why we are doing this after the topic we started at the beginning of the week. We're going to do one more. Why do you think I'm going to A3? Why do you think that's enough? I always need 3 to establish a pattern, whether it's like an AP or a GP. You're probably guessing which one it's going to be in a second.
So you do all this working in the exam?
Do I do all this working in the exam? The short answer is yes. Because where does this, I'm going to have some results at the end here, right? Where do they come from? There's going to be like several marks worth of working here, right?
The pattern, and then you apply the pattern to the...
Precisely. So I'm forming a pattern here that I can use to answer these questions, okay? All right, let's just do it one more time. Where does A3 come from? Well, you had the previous year's stuff. This is all A2, right? Do you agree? You add a new installment on, like so, and then one other thing happens. You don't just put money in, time passes, so you multiply by 1.08, that's the interest, okay? So every time, installment, interest, installment, interest. From here, I'm going to go straight to an expanded line because I think I know what's going on here, right? Everything here in the previous line, I'll write this down, then I'll come to your question. Everything here in the previous line gets a new lot of interest. And then the most recent installment, which isn't in this line, it also gets its interest. Is that okay? So we'll jot that down, and then Sarang, I'll come to your question. Actually, I might as well, because I think I'm okay to write this down while listening to you. What did you want to ask or suggest?
So you said A1 plus 10,000. So you're saying A1 as in the first line of working at the top, the second line?
These are both A1?
Yep. So
Yep.
no. Okay, so you
Substitute it in.
Yeah, and you
Yep.
put that over there,
Into here.
and then you, in that line, you put it to the expanded form instead of running A1.
Yeah, perfect.
Then you did the same thing for A3.
Yeah, I keep on building it. The reason why I've done this is so you can see every year the same thing is happening. Yeah? Say it again?
I like a polynomial 2, 1.
It's exactly like a polynomial, okay? So there's A1 there, and then it expands out so you can see this is what I'm going to put into A2. There it is. That's where these guys come from. Look, there's the first installment. It's been in there for 3 years. So it's got 3 lots of interest. There's the second installment. Been in there for 2 years. So it's got 2 years interest. You get the idea, okay? All right. 3 down. So I feel confident now to be able to say, well, after 20 years, in 2020, like ... time passes. I'm not going to do this another 17 times. I think I've established a pattern here. I'm going to say in 2020, A20 will equal. Okay, now look carefully at your indices because sometimes they are different depending on how you build this, right? You've got this first $10,000 that you put in right at the beginning, or that they did, right? How many times have we applied interest to it?
19 times.
Look really carefully. Here's 2003, the line before. This is why I went to the effort of establishing a pattern, right? See this index here matches the number of years it's been in there, right? So therefore this first one, it's got 20 years worth of interest applied to it. Does that make sense? Okay. And then the next one, it's been in there for 1 year less than that. So it'll be, this guy will be 19 years worth of interest. I'll do one more to get my 3, 1.08 to the power of 18. That's this guy. But then I have all these other ones that I didn't bother writing every single line because it would be taking forever. Okay. But I will get one final one at the end. And just like, I wonder if I can highlight it here. Just like every year previous, right? The last term that you write down, here, here, and here, it's always the most recent installment, which had 1 lot of interest added onto it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
In short form, we'd write A19 plus 1,000 and the interest after.
Exactly right. So this is the reason why I put this pattern here, right? A20 would be the previous year's A19 plus your installment multiplied by your interest, okay? You notice that I don't have like some, say it this way, even though it's strange, some like naked $10,000 at the end that's added on with no interest applied to it. Why? It's because of this, where did I write it? It's because of this date, right? You see that? I've gone all the way to the 30th of June. So that's why my interest for the whole year gets applied and there's no $10,000 sitting there that I've just put in that hasn't had the time to develop interest. Make sense?